Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Mazera Deville deck profile. And yes, this is one of those crazy kooky decks that I come up with at 3 a.m. It's a really crazy fun deck, and it's really consistent at what it does. This is one of those decks that I was up at 3 a.m. and I was like, let's do Agents, and then I got to Archlord Zerato, and I was like, oh, Warrior of Zera, and then I finally got to this guy and was like, I'm going to build a deck around Mazera Deville. Let's do that. Let's rip 6 cards out of our opponent's hand on the first turn. So I built this deck, and it's a really crazy, fun deck, and it's really, like, insane, and it really makes people rage quit when they play and scoop against you, especially if you just can resolve one of these to rip them for 3 cards. It's just really funny, because when this card is special summoned, you get to rip 3 random cards out of your opponent's hand, up to 3 random cards, which is insane. So, without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, because we have some awesome rewards, you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, or even getting requested deck profile just like this one every single month that you are a patron, along with test hands. So let's get straight on into this 3 a.m. crazy deck profile. I don't even know what to say about this. This is fun. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Mazera Deville. So if you need to know what this card does, I'm not surprised. It's a very old card from Ancient Sanctuary. And what this card does is this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card must be special summoned from your hand by offering 1 face-up Warrior of Zera from your side of the field as a tribute while Pandemonium is on your field. And if a Pandemonium is on your side of the field, when you special summon this card successfully, which it had to be, and I don't even, like, who came up with that? It has to be. Your opponent discards 3 random cards from his or her hand, or up to 3 random cards from his or her hand, which is pretty crazy, or their entire hand if that's all they have. We then play 3 copies of Warrior of Zera. This card is really good because he actually has really insane lore. He actually becomes either Mazera Deville, Archlord Zerato, Dark Lord Zerato, or the copy of Zero the Mat. He becomes one of the 4, and you can actually look at all the different cards, like Zero Ritual, and this, and Mazera Deville, and see him, like, go through the 4 different stages. He's like Warrior Digrapher, but kind of weird, but he's really, really, really neat. And it's actually, he's standing at Sanctuary in the Sky right now, and that's actually Zero the Mat on his sword, which is pretty cool for lore. We then play 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit, because getting to Warrior of Zera is extremely important. This deck basically searches Warrior of Zera like ridiculously fast, and it really helps that he's a warrior monster, and it gets him out on the field extremely fast to be able to go into crazy plays, and it's just overall really nice to have the Rescue Rabbit to normal summon, and then you get to send it, you to banish this card, and then you get to special summon 2 copies of the Warrior of Zera, which is really nice to be able to get Mazera Deville out on your side of the field. And then we play for the final 3 monsters. We play 3 copies of Archfiend General. Archfiend General, you just discard it to add Pandemonium from your deck to your hand, so it's like playing additional 3 copies of Terraforming, which, if this card didn't exist, I don't know how well this deck would be consistent, but this deck is really kind of crazy how consistent it is. So that's it for your monsters, guys. You don't play any hand traps. You don't need them, because you're just going to summon this and rip your opponent for basically 6 when you summon 2 of these guys onto your side of the field, or 3 if you summon 1. And then for the spells, guys, the spells, we play a lot of spells in this particular deck, which is a single copy of Upstart. We play a lot of 1-ofs. Upstart Goblin is a 1-of. It lets you draw a card, and then your opponent gains 1,000 life points. Terraforming to search Pandemonium. Monster Reborn, because you can bring back your copy of Warrior of Zera to get another copy of Mazera Deville on your side of the field. Instant Fusion to lock out your opponent from using hand traps, and you can use the link material to summon out your copy of your Thousand Eyes or Millennium Eyes, depending on what you need. 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army, which summons Warrior of Zera to your side of the field really fast, which is really cool. Set Rotation. Set Rotation is really good because it helps you get out your copy of Magical Midbreak Field and Pandemonium. Puts Pandemonium on your side of the field and puts Magical Midbreak on their side of the field, which they're going to think is really good because they can activate it and then you can't target. But hey, I don't target in this deck, so what does it matter? Your opponent's cards, which it just shuts down you from hand trapping me. We then play a single copy of Double or Nothing, because if you don't go Mazera Deville, this deck actually has a backup plan. You can go Utopia Double, which is usually my go-to thing. If you can't, like, hit your opponent for, 6 ripping out of their hand, you're going to hit them for 10,000 and cheese the game anyways. So then we play a single copy of Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is just good to stop your opponent's hand traps, because if they activate a copy of a hand trap, you hit it with a Call by the Grave, they're down to 4 in their starting hand, you drop Mazera Deville, and then they're down to 3 more, and they're down 4 out of the 5 in their original opening hand, and you don't even have to hit them with a second Mazera Deville at that point. They're going to be down. I mean, they're down for the count at that point, because they're going to open up with 2 cards, which is ridiculous. We then play 2 copies of Pot of Desires, because this deck doesn't really care if you banish any particular one of in this deck, as long as you don't banish all 3 Pandemonium, banish all 3 Mazera Deville, or banish all 3 Warrior of Zera, you're fine. This deck still functions, and it's totally fine. We then play 2 copies of Painful Decision. Painful Decision is not quite so painful, because you're going to send from your deck to graveyard a Warrior of Zera, to be able to add a Warrior of Zera from your deck to your hand, because it searches any normal monster by banishing a normal monster or sending a normal monster to the graveyard, which is going to help us out in the long run, because we play cards to revive Warrior of Zera from the graveyard like crazy in this deck. We play for the field spells, we're playing a single copy of Magical Midbreak Field, which helps us out with hand traps quite a lot, because it makes it so activating this card, you have to activate at the beginning of your main phase 1 or 2, and then during each player's main phase 1, monsters on the field cannot be destroyed by their opponent's card effects, and also neither player can target monsters their opponent controls, and you cannot activate or set field spell cards. Which is fine, because it totally locks our opponent out of field spell cards, which is really funny, to be able to just activate Pandemonium on our side, and they're like, oh, I'm going to activate Midbreak Field, and they activate Midbreak Field, and it's like, oh, now you can't hand trap me, and they're like, really? Really? This is how we're going to play this? And I'm like, yes, this is how we're going to play this. We then play 3 copies of Pandemonium. Its effect is totally irrelevant, because it works with the chess piece Archfiends, which you don't play in this deck. You basically just play this for the name to summon your copy of Mazera Deville. Literally, if this card did not say that you have to have it on the field to summon this, you wouldn't play it. Somehow this card is tied into the Archfiends, chess piece Archfiends. I don't understand how, but it is. But this card has the ability that neither player has to pay life points during the standby phase for Archfiend monsters, and each time a player's Archfiend monsters are destroyed, which we don't play any Archfiends in this deck, it's sent to the graveyard, except as a result of battle. They can select one Archfiend monster card in his or her deck that has fewer level stars than the destroyed monster and add it to their hand. Really good card for chess piece Archfiends, but we don't play them, so I mean, we need it though. We then play 3 copies of Unexpected Die. Unexpected Die lets us special summon Warrior of Zera from the deck, which is really good. Now, the reason this deck works is because you play 6 ways to get to your copy of Mazera Deville. You play 3 copies of Dark Spirit Mastery, which you discard a card from your hand to either add a Destiny board or a level 8 Fiend monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is always going to be Mazera Deville. And you play 3 copies of Magical Contract Door. Magical Contract Door is what makes the deck really work. You give your opponent a spell card in your hand, and then you add a level 7 or 8 Dark monster from your deck to your hand, which is, guess who? You're going to be adding Mazera Deville from your deck to your hand every single time that you're going to activate this card, which is really, really crazy. So, that's it. Well, we have 3 more spells, excuse me. We play for the last 3 spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Silent Doom. There's a lot of spells in this deck. Silent Doom is a card that you probably haven't seen since the original series of Yu-Gi-Oh! And what this card does is it lets you target a normal monster in your graveyard and you special summon it in face-up defense position, but it cannot be targeted, or it can't attack, excuse me. It just can't attack, which we're never going to attack with our copy of Warrior of Zera, like ever. It has 1600 attack. You're going to tribute it for your copy of Mazera Deville, which is why this card is really good in this deck, because you just drop this, add your copy of Warrior Zera back to your side of the field, tribute it, summon Mazera Deville, rip 3 cards out of your opponent's hand, and you're fine. I mean, it just works. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a couple of cards. We're going to be playing a single copy of number 97, because you can sometimes summon 2 copies of Mazera Deville, and then when you summon this card, you just detach material from it, and then you summon out your copy of number 100, which can get you a 9k beat stick on your side of the field, which is really good to be able to deal with your opponent's side of the field. I mean, you're staring down a 9k beat stick, and you're not going to do well with, like, losing all 6 cards in your hand and then summoning a 9k beat stick. Like, it's just going to be a bad time for your opponent. Number 92, you can summon this card off of your copy of 97, which is really easy to summon. And your opponent takes all the battle damage from battles involving this, which is pretty good. You play a single copy of number 38, which is pretty good to be able to, like, deal with spells and traps, because if you summon 2 copies of Mazera Deville, then you rip all the cards out of your opponent's hand, then you summon out a copy of number 38, and if they draw a spell, they're in a very bad place, because this card can negate that 1 card that they just drew. We then play a number 60, because it lets you draw 2 and discard 1. That's very, very important, especially if you draw and you open up like a copy of Silent Doom, and you have 2 copies, like you have a Rescue Rabbit, but you don't have the copy of Mazera Deville in your hand. I can't tell you how many times that's happened, and not that often, actually. But what this card does is basically you get to revive your copy of your Zera, Warrior of Zera. And if you summon Rescue Rabbit, then you can summon out the 2 materials that you're going to need for this. And then you immediately activate the Silent Doom to bring one of the materials back, your Warrior of Zera back. And if you draw into your copy of your Mazera Deville, then you just tribute the Warrior of Zera that you brought back with Silent Doom, Monster Reborn. Any of those cards, just be able to get it right back on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of number 39 Utopia, which is accompanied by number 39 Utopia Double, which is, again, you drop Rescue Rabbit, and you see the opportunity, and you take it, and you just OTK your opponent with a copy of number 39 Utopia and Utopia Double for hitting them for 10,000, especially if they open up, like, for example, if you're playing against, I use heroes as a lot of examples, but let's just say, for example, that our opponent normal summons a Stratos. After I've ripped them for 6, they draw for turn, add a Stratos, normal summon the Stratos, but they can't do anything outside that, and they leave the Stratos on the field, and I draw into like a copy of Silent Doom and an Unexpected Die. I drop the copy of Unexpected Die, summon out a Zero to my side of the field, summon Silent, or activate Silent Doom, bring 1 back from the grave, and then I make Utopia Double, and I just swing for game, which is crazy. We then play a Access Code Talker to pop cards on the field, which is rarely going to happen that they're actually going to have cards on the field. We play a Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Cerberus to pop monsters, Link Rebo but Link Spider, because you can actually summon the Link Spider really easy by just using a Warrior of Zera on your side of the field, send it to the graveyard, and then bring 1 out of your hand as well if you open up 2 of them to help you Link climb if you need to. Your copy of Link Rebo as well, because Link Rebo helps you out a lot, because you can summon it with your copy of Millennium Eyes, which helps you stop your opponent's hand traps, and a copy of Thousand Eyes as well, which also helps gobble up the one-of monster that they're probably going to summon against you on the next turn. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoy playtesting this deck, because it's super fun. It's really fun to solitaire this deck, like play it on your own, because if you ever play this against somebody, they're going to rage quit. As soon as you summon out this first Mazera Deville and rip them for 3, they're going to go, what? And then you hit them with the second one, and they're going to go, oh, I'm done. Again, and then you're like, yeah, you are, because you don't have any cards. So this deck is really fun. I highly recommend that you guys give this deck a try. It's very, very cheap. You can probably find every single card in your common stack and pull them out and be able to summon out your copy of Mazera Deville really, really easily. And, like, it's super budget. Like, you can probably pick up the main deck for less than $30, unless Mazera Deville gets bought out, which may happen after this deck profile comes out, because the last time I did a crazy deck like Burning Skullhead actually got bought out, and I hope it doesn't happen. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a disclaimer. Don't buy out Mazera Deville, please. So, because it's only had 1 printing. So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad. And definitely check out the Patreon, because it makes quirky decks like this come out. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.